What is up, and welcome yet again to another episode of the Camera Junkie live stream. My name's Luis, also known as Mr. Camera Junkie, where I remind you, this amazing audience, to upgrade your skills before your gear. And if it's your first time here, welcome. Please be sure to introduce yourself into the chat so that you can get the nice Camera Junkie crew welcome. Excuse me. You can tell I haven't been speaking much today, but all that's about to change. And like I was saying, please be sure to introduce yourself into the chat so you can get the nice Camera Junkie crew welcome. And as the tradition goes around here, the first thing that I always do is go check to see who are the first members of the crew in the chat. So let's go ahead and do that while I get some water. I like this song. Gotta put it up a little bit. There we go. Comments window. And right off the bat, where's my mouse? Okay. Got too many computers going on right now. All right. And yes, just a reminder, this is the end of your stream. So this is going to be the last stream. We're just hanging out. We're going to talk. We're going to just, have a good time, as always. And right off the bat, we have Kathy saying, hey, hello to all. Say, hey, all. We also have Paul Duncan in the house saying greetings. We have Gretchen in here twice saying hi to the MCJ crew. And also off of her second channel on camera. So funny. We also have Parker in the house saying hello to everyone. And Carlos is also here saying hello, everyone. Hope all is well. Everything is well, and I wish everyone the same exact thing. And as the rest start coming in, we're just going to continue to rock out. Guys, accountability. I think that's going to be my motto and phrase moving into 2025. And the reason why I mention it here on the stream is because this is a place where we also meet up every single week. So I have a lot of ideas and a lot of things, projects that I am like trying to finish up, and those are going to be finished up. And those I've mentioned to you here before. But the reason why I mention them here is because they need to have already been done, so to speak. And it's like done is better than perfect. One of them is the spin-off podcast, which is Cities God Podcast. So that is in the works. One that I also need to finish up is the Ecamm en Español, which I just need to actually get it done. And as of right now, those are the main two things that I have going that I need to have finished up. There was a couple of monkey wrench. Well, one monkey wrench, you understand, that kind of took me out for the holiday season, which was just the back and forth with my father that I have touched on here before. But it was still playing it by ear where he's at the house, and there's a lot of back and forth from me going from my place to his and so on and so forth, which is why we're going to try to look for a new place together. So there's more care that I can give to him, but also less movement or needing of me to move from back and forth. So that's what's in the plans or in the works for 2025. But the motto that I want to encompass for this new year is no excuses, just results, right? Because I am one who I try a bit to like not beat myself up too much, for not being able to complete some of these things, because I'm always like just handling the things that are on my plate. And like just a couple minutes before the stream, you understand, like I'm taking care of Aiden because he just fell asleep, so I'm just putting him down and doing the best that I can. But even though there's a lot of distractions and there's a lot of negative events, I can't allow that, no matter what, to stop me. So for that exact reason, no excuses, just results. And that's exactly what is going to happen for 2025. Done is better than perfect is just going to be like another side note to that same thought process. So with that being said, that's exactly how I'm going to be moving forward. And oh, wow, check this out. Okay, so we got to say what's up to some more people. First, Paul asked me how did the Mac go for him. Well, he hasn't even tested it so far because it was gifted to him. He has it, but I went the other day. Was it yesterday or the day before? To go set it up for him, right? So I went to the bank. I was running some errands, and I stopped by his house to go connect it. And I was going to use all of his peripherals, all the things that he already had, thus being the keyboard, mouse, and monitor that he was using from the previous computer. Let me explain to you how old my father's Windows PC was, that he's still using a VGA connected computer monitor, and the only other connection that it had is the DVI, which is an upgrade to the VGA, but no HDMI. So I was like, oh my god. So we're looking into it. He's in the process. I sent him 2 links from Amazon to see which path he wants to go. I'm recommending a new monitor. I'm just saying, get a new LCD, something with a higher refresh rate, something new, you understand? And it's what you're interfacing with the computer the most. So get a refresh of a computer and a refresh of your pixels, so to speak. But at the same time, if he wants to keep what he has, there is a HDMI to DVI cable that I found on Amazon for $10. So I sent him a link for both, and we're going to see. I'm going to speak with him tomorrow to see which route he wants to go. It's a 79 or even a 69. Nice. Dollar monitor, 100 hertz. You understand? 1080p, which is more than perfect. 22 inches. I think it's a no-brainer, and I think for like that price is what we should go with. We also have Kevin in the house saying hello to all, and someone that I haven't spoken to in a long time, and I'm glad to see him here, is my friend Jonathan, and he's here saying "Dímelo, bro," because it's been a long time. Jonathan is actually someone that one of my earlier streams, you might have seen him, and when I was actually talking about some of the photos that I took of him and how I had edited those on a stream. So that was just going way back. So good to see you here, brother. Merry Christmas, because it's belated, and Happy New Year. Kevin also saying, has everyone remembered to hit that like button? And if you haven't done so, please do so. I can see them going off on the stream here, and it's highly appreciated. There we go. And yep, we got Scott Rogers here saying, see you later, 2024. Yep, 2024 was a great year, man. I gotta say, when it's all said and done, I'm just very grateful and very blessed to have a community of such amazing people here hanging out week in and week out. We rolled into 4 years of live streaming just like last month, and coming 2025 is going to be year 5. So it correlates very well, as you can see, with the fiscal or the calendar year, right? So that is the way that we can keep just track of it. You understand? On 2025, we'll be working towards year 5 of the Camera Junkie live stream. So Jim says, love done is better than perfect, because it is. You understand? And this is a situation that I have because it's like a good problem to have, which is I love editing my videos, and I love going into all the details and checking frame by frame and doing it to the best of my capability. But doing that takes time, and that perfectionism slows down the process dramatically. So even though that's something that I enjoy and I'm going to be able to do on some projects, right, on occasion, to get the most content out, I'm just going to need to get it done and not worry about it being perfect or anything. And the crazy thing is that I really can't complain, right? How could I really say when I have a pretty decent setup that even just recording a video like this, I have multiple angles and they're all recording simultaneously through Ecamm. So I have the ability to do it, right? But then sometimes the limitation, right, is the best part. So what I can easily do, right, is just like record a video, and if I need to do like a jump cut, right, and I need to just cut something completely out instead of just having it normal jump cut, which is not even bad, I can just have it jump quickly to the secondary shot, right, to the secondary angle, just because of the simple fact that it's being recorded at the same time, and it won't be hard to implement because both of the files are going to be the same exact length. So that's what I need to do for both my content moving forward and the finishing up the project of Ecam in Espanol, because it's literally, I'm just going to go live stream to the channel, right, just to get it done. And these are going to be like hidden streams. I'm just going to stream them to the channel like I was explaining it to you guys on a Saturday night. And I'm going to try to make them, not really make them this way, but I'm going to try to have the, I'm just making a short mentality, right? You only have a minute, so how could you explain this in a minute? And when it comes to the educational content, I'm going to be hitting it in a different way, which is the fact that I'm not going to try to show you how to make the complete sandwich, right? Because showing you how to make the complete sandwich is a longer process than me just showing you how to add cheese. If that makes sense. I hope that makes sense to you guys. But if I just make a video of like, this is how you add cheese, right? And then another complete video of like, this is how you put on ham onto your sandwich. And then that's it. It's giving people exactly what they're looking for and not giving them more fluff than needed. So you'd be able to look at my channel and find the content that you need, because you're like, oh, I wanted to make a ham sandwich, right? And instead of looking for a video showing you the ins and outs of how to make a ham sandwich, I'm just gonna have every video file to say, this is how you put out the bread, this is the condiments that you choose, and then it's gonna have a library of either roast beef, turkey, ham, or whatever, and it's your choice. And then you just pick out the one video of like, hey, this is how you put on ham, this is how you put on cheese, and now you've completed your own sandwich just by using the content that I put out. And that's the new mentality, instead of trying to show you every single time how to make a sandwich from scratch, right? And every single one starts with the same aspect of the video of like, take out 2 pieces of bread and lay them flat. So hopefully that makes sense. I just got a message from my computer, which is another issue that I need to tackle for 2025, which is data. Like even right now, I'm working on some projects and I don't have the space to render them out, right? My computer's telling me that the live recording that we're doing here on the stream, I don't have enough space on my computer because it's pretty much full, and I'm just gonna check on it on the fly. And the information that is telling me, oh yeah, that's, my goodness, it's telling me I have 3.23 gigs left. So most likely, you know what, I'm gonna just do it right now just so that I could avoid it. I'm gonna go into Ecamm, into the preferences, and I'm just gonna shut off the recording. Let me do that real quick. Actually, no, I'll have to do it in the settings. Videos, recordings. Here we go. Record all broadcast. I just turned it off, and that just closed out the file. Perfect. All right, I gotta remember to turn that back on. Okay. So going back to it, yeah, I have 3 gigs left on my computer, which is, I have files that I have on certain projects, right? So let's say this, like what I'm working on right now is the creator camp from Ecamm. And my main issue right now is just exporting that and not having the space for it, because the files themselves are so big. So they're in Final Cut, and I have all the edits done. Well, not all of them, but like I have a majority of them done, and I just don't have any place, you know, data wise to actually drop the file. So instead, that's what I'm working on right now. The next step is getting my NAS system, which is a network attached storage. And that little box with all the data is just where I'm going to just drop everything. So there's nothing on like external hard drives whatsoever, to consolidate all of the data and also not have a repeat of data. because that's also another issue that I know I'm dealing with. Is just too broad of a scope right now for me to even handle. The fact that I know that I have a lot of the same data in multiple locations, that's a story for another day. Once I get the NAS, we'll start working with it. Scott also says, still waiting on the Mac Mini to be repaired by the geniuses at Apple Store. I have another crazy story about that. I don't know if I mentioned it last week, but I'll mention it again. I have another friend of mine, Lemmy, who I had visited while I was driving down from Creator Camp. And he asked me to do him a favor on his MacBook, which is to reapply thermal paste, which I did. But unfortunately, while the computer was in my hand, apparently, like, I guess in the bag or something, pressure was applied on the outside of the computer and it damaged the LCD. So while I was in there doing the heatsink stuff, the LCD started showing signs of physical damage. And then it totally just gave out. So I had to go to Best Buy with him, just this whole ordeal. But now I'm just waiting to get that taken care of so that then I can send the computer back to him, because it's just unfortunate. But I'm in the process of playing the waiting game with a computer as well. I like I said, we were talking about the Mac Minis last week, and it's just super interesting that you had a problem with it. But then I'm gonna just refer, like, that had me thinking all week as well of like maybe getting the refurbished and like avoiding the problem, or finding a problem ahead of time and then using that computer could have been the benefit aspect of that. So Gretchen says, oh, that's an old one. Yeah, we're talking about my dad's like monitor. Like, once I saw VGA, I was like, my heart broke. I was like, oh, like, he's still using VGA. I've stopped using VGA such a long time ago that it's almost second nature, that I felt like everything is going to be connected HDMI. And to see my dad's monitor on that, I was like, look, let's try to get you another one. But he's also, like, he's hard-headed and super frugal, so he doesn't want to spend money on that stuff, and I might just end up buying it for him, like with the computer, so to speak. I'll just say, you know what? But at the end of the day, I also want to respect his wishes. So if he doesn't want to throw away that monitor because it still works, so I'm going to do whatever he wants. Kathy says, I want the M4 Mac Mini, but it's on the wants list. Too many real life bills to cover in January. Yep, I do understand. But good thing for me that I kind of did a double, like a double void, right? Which is my father needing the computer, like, allowed me to gift him my computer, that then allowed me to have a space for the new M4. So instead of just saying like, hey, would I buy this computer for $500? It literally was like, would you upgrade yours for $200? And I was like, yeah, I can do that. You understand? The $200 upgrade for me, and for me, man, craziness, the difference in the performance between the M1 8 gig and the M4 16. It is like night and day. Don says, the best of the best. Much love, bro. Absolutely. JP, Jarrell Peak, is also hanging out with us today, saying, hey, what's up, brother? How are you, sir? Yo, you guys crushed it on the live stream this year. Super excited for you guys to be sponsored now, like officially through Ecamm. So also the same way, anything that you guys need, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help in any aspect whatsoever, even if it's, just letting you know, for some instances that you might need a remote producer for Ecamm, I'll be able to help you guys out, hands down. So just let me know. All right, reach out to me. I think I'm following you on IG as well. So Jonathan Natal Music says, likewise, Spot. Oh, absolutely, brother. Tora is in the house saying, hey, Lewis and all, what's up? How are you? Welcome. Scott says, bought the M2 Mac Mini in August. Dead motherboard 3 months later. Goodbye data as per warranty requirement. Oh my goodness. That's what would hurt me. Like, losing data is like the worst thing. And honestly, I think that's why I love Final Cut Pro. But if you lost No, I would still be able to do it because the way that I run my Final Cut Pro, I'm doing it off of an external hard drive. So if I just go over here, I'm just gonna disconnect it real quick so that I don't yank it and get that dreaded Apple message of like, you could be damaging your hardware. All right, so I disconnected that hard drive just to show you. So this is also what I recommend. So it's something that I can talk about a little bit right now. If you were to be running your programs or like your main majority data on an external hard drive like I have, then it really doesn't matter if the computer goes down. Another advantage is, like, let's say the computer does go down and you have access to another lesser machine, but still comparable, like, compared from my Mac Studio to the Mac Mini, I can throw this hard drive, plug it in, open up Final Cut, and keep rocking, right? Just the way that it works. So this is something that I do recommend. As you can see, I also have the Hagibis system, right? So just underneath here, I have this little tray down here, and this also has another 2 terabyte hard drive, which is external, but I have it connected all the time, so it runs like an internal hard drive. So I'm constantly moving data there and running running Final Cut projects off of that drive, just because it's built in. So I even have the option to upgrade that hard drive in the future, make it even up to 8 terabytes, meaning I will then have 9 terabytes on this machine for a lot less than what I paid or you would pay for it directly from Apple. But at the same time, like I said, if the worst case scenario were to happen, where that you actually kind of like your computer dies, then you still have some of your data there. Now, if you had any personal pictures, anything like that, any documents that were saved to it, I do agree those would be gone. That sucks, unless you have that already set up with your computer to record directly to an external drive, which is the next step that I'm taking, which is what I mentioned before, the NAS, right? So the network attached storage is what is the next step to basically have everything local but off-site. So if I decide, even if it was just like, hey, I want the new Mac Studios that are going to come out this year, probably with the M4s and all this, right, and bring my system back up to date, I can do that and not lose any of my data whatsoever. So worst case scenario that the computer dies, once again, you don't lose any of your data if you have it set up correctly. Kathy says, working on my 12-week year as opposed to creating a year-long resolution. Still haven't settled on the word. Well, my word, like I said, is more of the phrase. It's word is accountability, but the phrase is no excuses, just results. And that's exactly what I want to get into the mindset, right? I want to be able to take care of things ahead of time. So if things get a little rocky like they did, these past, the last quarter of this year, it doesn't matter because it's just so much that's already being kind of done behind the scenes ahead of time. So I'm really looking forward to the podcast. That's those edits are the main edits are done. What I'm still working on is the intros, outros, and that's literally it. Come January, because that one I'm probably gonna be it's probably gonna go live. I'm not sure exactly how I'm gonna do it. It's gonna happen this month, but what I'm thinking is, and I just want to speak with Doc to see which will be the best plan of action. I'm gonna have the first 6 episodes already set up, ready to go, so that if somebody were to find one video, they have more of the podcast that they can. What I'm not sure that I'm going to do is if I'm going to release the podcast first and then advertise for the entire month, or if I'm going to advertise for the entire month and then at the end drop the 6 episodes. So that's where I'm up in the air still. So, I'm editing the short vertical clips and things like that to just get things promoted for the City's God podcast. So Kathy also says, Scott Rogers, she's speaking to, what would break my heart is if I have the M1 Mini and I plan to trade in for the M4 in March. Yeah, well, It's funny that I mentioned this a while ago that I kind of don't do backups unless I'm doing the restoration of a computer. And there was one thing, and this, Kevin, if you're here, if you're still here and listening, there's one thing that had me going that I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I lost that on my Mac Mini, which is not really important, but it kind of sucks. And I'm going to tell you what it is. It's OpenEMU or EMU. This is a small little program that is an emulator for a lot of video game consoles, and it's designed for Mac computers. I've talked about it before, but here we go. It gives you the ability to play like PSP, Nintendo 64, like TurboGrafx 16, a bunch of different old school consoles that I grew up with. And one of the main ones that I actually played are the handheld consoles, which are like the Game Boy Advance, so on and so forth, because I'm a Pokemon type of guy, right? I played Pokemon like getting out of high school. I was taking a math midterm and my friend had his Game Boy. I finished the test before he did. So I asked him if I could play, and his one requirement was like, yeah, you can play, just don't save the game because there's only one save game slot and you would overwrite my game history. And I go, not a problem, got you. So I started playing the thing, and after like 15 minutes, I so badly wanted to save my game to have it and keep it going. And that's when I realized, you know what, I just need to get this for myself. So the next thing was for my Game Boy, I got the Pokemon Blue, which was the first version that I got with Squirtle, and the rest is history. Like like for the first generation, I played those. Once they got into the other ones, I kind of didn't. So I was always using my OpenEMU to play those games. And you know what? I'm gonna give you a shot over here. A lot of them, I would actually take this. Oh, got so much stuff. And run my TV over here. And go vertical. Oh, did I just turn it off? I did. So having it vertical like this that's how I would play like the Game Boy games, right? Like the Game Boy Advance that had like the top and bottom screen, so you needed this vertical landscape, and that entire thing, all of it, all of the save game history, all of the memories, all of the everything is on that time machine backup. I'm falling over my words a bit. So they were all on the time machine backup, and I'm like, the computer's running so good, I don't know, because it's literally just saved game files, but at the same time, there was so many little saved game files from so many different games. Worst case scenario, if I'm really feeling like, you know what, like I want to go play and I don't want to restart all over again, I know I have that backup on that hard drive, which is rolling around there. But as of right now, there's been no need to actually do anything else as far as the time machine backup. But the reason why I bring it up is because it might be something that we might look into, because a time machine backup done properly can save you a big headache for like losing all your data, like Mr. Scott Rogers lost in his M2. Says, yeah, I had to have them agree to let them discard the data. What that means is that, in all sincerity, that means that they're scrapping that whole machine, right? Like they're probably going to send that one in, and in hopes to see if maybe somebody will get that refurbished unit, if they can salvage it, but it's going to need to go through a whole new overhaul, which means that they're not going to try to like remove that SD card, because in all sincerity, the SD card could have been the issue that shorted and died out. So for that reason, like they're just saying, you know what, call it a loss and get you another refurbished unit, which probably had a completely different issue, maybe less like less grave, so to speak, and then just have that fixed and have returned to you with the same specs and have a computer. So I wish you the best on the return of it. What else does it says? They would have saved the data for me for What? That's more than the price of the computer. That makes like no sense. Hey man, David Harvey officials in the house saying, hello, that made so much sense. Just add cheese. Okay, so my sandwich analogy is coming through. Scott says, no, I'm hungry. Ham and cheese sandwich. Synology, yes, Synology. He corrects himself. Yeah, so I'm definitely going with Synology. Is the easiest one, and is gonna be just reliable. So I'm just gonna get the latest version. And last thing that I seen somebody that said, "Oh, I need to upgrade my Synology." The last time, well, when they first got it was like 10 years ago. So if these machines have a 10-year shelf life with your data, that's good to go. So that's what we're riding with. Sly is also in the house. Happy New Year, saying hello. Luis, all ready for 2025? I am getting ready. I am. That's getting in the right mindset. But that's what I have mentioned here. So, we're going to be doing this weekly because this is never going to stop. But then at the same time, we're going to try to help me out, right, as the community and holding me accountable. And you guys could ask me in the chat, be like, yo, where's the, Ecamm in Espanol videos, because I haven't seen them, or I haven't heard the podcast. What's going on with this? I haven't seen any like commercials or announcements for it. Like, you guys, hey, I'm giving you full permission to throw it right in my face if I don't get it done, because that's gonna be the complete shift of just no excuses, just results. And it's almost like I've been playing defensive for far too long, right? I've just been seeing things coming my way. I'm just like, you understand, dodging, bobbing and weaving. But now I need to get onto the attack, and I need to just not worry about what things are coming at me, and I need to just worry about what I'm going to do offensively. And offensively meaning I'm going to go ham. I need to just get out as much content, because I produce a pretty good live stream, so I can literally just make 1,000 live stream type videos and just get the content out, and that's gonna be more than good enough, right? So if with that mentality, that's what I'm gonna go into, is try to remove myself personally as an editor and just get the content out, because sometimes you just need to know how to put the cheese on it. Put some cheese on that thing. Says, are you down a light or just different camera settings? No, different camera settings. I have more or brighter background, so I did darken this up, and then I did shut off one light for Aiden. So you know what? I could switch it up real quick like this, because I went with like an all white setup. But I just go into my little Govee thing, right? Let's see, like, if we can see it. This one right here says live stream. And now it should dim everything. And you see like the blue lights get dimmer there. And now that they're not as bright, I seem to get a little bit brighter just by aperture. Let's move that. Oh, no, that's the focus ring. There we go. Boop. One click of the aperture ring, and that's how it does. What? No. Where's my mouse? Okay, we're good. I got so many announcements popping up on me right now. K-Wall is also saying, I would love a NAS, but I'm too attached to my tens and thousands of SD cards for my studio. I couldn't. I got one of these little booklets for my SD cards, and if it's not in there, I'm not using it. But where did I just... I've been moving things around as well. You know, people doing like spring cleaning. Well, I didn't wait, right? I didn't wait for like, oh, like it's going to be like this. No, I didn't wait. I actually got on this thing, and it was another thing of like, no excuses, just results. Just to give you a little insight, I went in on my closet. So I have a walk-in closet, and my clothes was always in the back. And then I had a bunch of stuff in front of it, and I kind of flipped it on its head, just also to get everything out and make sure that it's clean. I I then took like the bar that actually holds my clothes and I moved it to the front side. So now as soon as you open the closet, that's the first thing that you're addressed with, but also gives way to the rest of the closet, giving it like that whole back room. So I was able to like load a bunch of things to the back side of the closet now and still have better access to my clothes right in front. With that being said, allows me to have better location for like my hampers, like for my clothes. So instead of them hanging out here, I have them now in the closet as well. So now all that's put away. Another thing that I did was I threw away so much stuff, guys. Like there was some things that was just like some sentimental value, but like I just didn't have space for it. And in that motto of like creating the void so something better can fill it, that's the same thing that I felt I did. One of them being my painting. The painting that I have made that you guys, some of you saw from like my previous live stream when I used to have it covering up the AC unit, the one that I hand painted and everything like that, is just sitting in my closet and I just don't have space for it. And it was literally just becoming like a sore. I would take it out of the closet and then it would fall over. And because it was falling over and it was in place, it started getting damaged. It started getting paint chips and things missing and everything. So I was like, even though it was something that I loved that I made, I had to let it go. So I had to just get rid of it because I needed the space. And now just giving a void for something better to fill that. What it was eventually and wasn't expected was a hamper, right? So now the hamper is what filled the void in the closet, and now I'm much happier because it's not out here like amongst like my regular like walking area, and it's opened up a lot more space not only for me but for Aiden. So getting rid of all of these things to maximize what I already have here and start utilizing what I have the most. So I'm saying all of these things. Hopefully you guys get something out of it, but it's mostly like the end of year reprimand to myself and saying, hey, you need to get these things done. But that's exactly where I'm at. Scott is asking if Sly is going to be doing a Tuesday night thing that would be New Year's Eve. So that would be interesting. Let us know. He says one day I'll grow up and get a NAS. What I also do with my memory cards, and I try to, is that I try not to erase them because I try to think of them like film, and it's kind of like my final backup, right? So if I don't have the ability to, I won't like delete the information on an SD card. That ship has sailed because there is a huge difference in SD cards. And that ship sailed earlier this year when I got the FX30. And the FX30 carries a the what's it? It's an express card. I'm running a blank right now, but it's but it's a Type A. Forgot the name of it, but it's a Type A, high capacity and high speed card. CF Express, man, I could just blanked on it. So the CF Express Type A card, and those are very pricey and they're very high bandwidth, right? So they have the read and write speeds are just phenomenal, and for that reason is why you're able to record in the highest bit rate, get the highest quality of and get the most out of these machines. It's great, but definitely don't have the budget to not reuse those memory cards. And that's like legit. So that's why that ship has sailed, and that's where I'm now filling up, because just the amount of data that I recorded for Creator Camp earlier this year is what has me like to my eyeballs with data. I'm like oversaturated. I'm trying to not lose things because that's the worst. Like that's like what we were talking about, Scott, having you lose your data sucks because sometimes you don't know exactly what it is that you've lost until you go looking for it and you're like, oh, heartbroken again. And not only are you upset that you realize that the data that you're looking for today isn't available because it was on that old machine that died, but then you also get the feeling of how you felt the day that machine died, right? So you're just like, oh, like a double whammy. Oh. But that's what we're trying to avoid. So let our mistakes, right, be a lesson for somebody else, and not doing things, well, just creating a backup, because what they say, if you got one is none and two is one, right? Yeah, two is one and one is none. I think that's the phrasing when it comes to this. We got Jim Out Loud said, greeting from my new channel, finally. Happy Saturday to Lewis and everyone. So is this Jim Mundi? With the new channel? Let us know. I'm guessing that's Jim Mundi. So that's cool. I got to definitely check that out. Probably look it up. Well, I have a copy of it here, so Jim Out Loud. Yeah, that's a really good name. I do agree with that, K-Wall. Hey, Yolanda. She's here as well. Ravens Talk with Yolanda saying hello to everyone. Kevin's like, oh, no. Says Scott, yes, but we'll be starting 2 hours later. Oh, so you're going to start 2025, right? So you're probably starting at midnight instead of 10 o'clock? All right. Are game device like cars? If I have 15-year-old game, is it an antique or is it worth or if so, is it worth anything? There is, but it's mostly like, you know what? I'm going to show you one that I know that I've held on to for years, that like, regardless of like, there's going to come a day that there's going to come around that somebody's going to be like, I'm going to spend a good amount of money on that piece of electronic hardware, even though like you probably won't play the game today. Now, these are used, but these also hold like sentimental value. But like I said, that sentimental value is what is what I think is gonna make these games valuable. Original Mike Tyson's Punch Out for the NES. The original, and an original gold copy of The Legend of Zelda. As you can see, they were played. These were the actual games that I grew up playing. The actual physical copies. They've survived all the years, but these are just like the two classics, right? This is like, you want to get it to play, you got to do the pan flute thing, right? So, but yes, like, man, this literally, just looking at this game cover right here, this gold game cover, brings me back to a house where my father, like when we used to live in Hollandale here in South Florida. I was in third grade. Brings back a lot of great memories as a child. Just like this is something that I was actually talking with Tom Buck about, right? That we as human creatures, we create what I call anchor memories, right? These are memories that end up being like anchor points of our lives, where it's kind of like the fork in the road where you see how things change. But the most important thing is that they're anchored as the person who you are, and when you're reminded of it, it literally is like a time machine. It draws you back to that moment, and you're like, man. And these two game cartridges right here, they do that for me 100%. 100%. The Legend of Zelda and Mike Tyson's Punch Out. They're just chilling in the drawer right over there. It says, just means you have to start over and make new memories. That's true. It says, Gretchen says, I have the same size vertical monitor. I use it as my second monitor. Usually keeps up the eCam windows. And tonight, you are on while I'm editing a video on my main. Nice. So Kevin also says, let's get the camera rig video created. Exactly, right? You see, like, see, those are some of the ones that just like I know I've been wanting to put that together. And if you don't mention that comment, that's just another one that kind of like goes under the bridge. And then when I see my camera, I'm like, oh, I haven't done it. And I just beat myself up on it. So now it's like I said, no excuses, just results. Oh, okay, let's recharge this. Actually, you know what? I'm going to switch it up. Let's put these on so that I could, like, you guys can hear me. Everything's fine. But, you know, throughout these live stream, I'm listening to the music as well. So I enjoy it. My AirPods are fine. The transmitter died. And I don't want to go ahead and charge that up right now. So I'm just going to leave it off. And what I did was that I grabbed my AirPods 2nd generation. And the reason why I grabbed those is because those are connected directly to my Rodecaster Pro. So this is kind of like where I have to give a little bit of a teaching moment. We never really, you know, advise to use wireless headphones if you're doing like an interview. If we were on an interview, this cable connection here would be my little bag here, which has my wired cables. But when I'm just listening to music in the background here, like I said, it's just in the background. So I'm just chilling and vibing and enjoying it the same way. So instead of having it connected to the computer, which might be confusing, I actually have it connected directly to my Rodecaster Pro. So everything that's being done here, like the sound effects, right? All that's coming through right here. And the good part about it is that it's actually not going to try to connect to any of my Apple devices, which I'm surrounded by. So because of it, it only has connection for my Rodecaster Pro. So that's the only thing that I will ever try to attempt to connect to. As soon as I put them on, they're connected and I'm hearing everything to keep the show going. But that's why I said I like to explain myself, because this will throw everything into a loop when you have a setup like this. You know, instead of using this microphone, it's going to try to pick up the microphone from the AirPods because it's overriding all of your other hardware because it took over because it's connected to your Apple computer. Don't recommend that at all, because that also leaves you vulnerable to having another device, another Apple device, like take or seize control over what it is that you're listening. Because that's like probably my only pet peeve, like my only gripe with Apple products, which is when you have multiple things connected under the same email account or iTunes account, right? They're all connected and they all speak to each other. So once you connect AirPods to any of these devices, it's like you're connecting it to all of the devices. So I could be sitting here and then I'd be watching a video, listening to a conversation, anything, and it just decides, hey, why don't you listen to the Mac Mini? Boom, and you're connected to the Mac Mini. I'm like, there's nothing connected on the Mac Mini. What are you doing to me? You understand? So my pet peeve, my gripe with AirPods and Apple devices. But besides that, just good. Okay, so we're back to my lighting scheme. Thank you. Okay, so says Sly says something here. I think she's correcting. It says, "Hi BB, the gang's all here. It wouldn't feel like a Saturday night without Lewis." And that's what she's saying, without Lewis. Okay, thank you so very much. And always, you guys make this like the coolest hangout every single weekend. Like I said, personally, I wouldn't say it was bad. It was just rough and exhausting holiday season, right? A lot of mental gymnastics more than anything else. But you guys, I appreciate it because it's like Saturdays is my off day. And it's because of Doc Rock, Gold Gloop, and this live stream every single week. And I got to thank you guys as always. No excuses, just results. 2025 tagline. Absolutely. Yep. Thank you, Gretchen. You see, I got it eventually, but, you know, my peoples were coming to the rescue with the CF Express Type A. Do they make a CF Express adapter which you could put a card in and then keep it using it slow SD cards? So let me read that again. Do they make an CF Express adapter you can put an SD card in to it, keep using the slower SD cards? Well, I think so. But it has nothing to do with the card readers. It has to do with the camera itself. If you put a lesser SD card into the FX30, then like some of the codecs, right? Like the 140-bit codec in the S-Log to get like the most dynamic range, the best quality, and like the highest quality image off of that sensor with the glass, you're going to need the higher transfer speeds because it's just pumping out so much data that it needs to have like that expansive bandwidth so that it doesn't overheat the memory cards and then create a bottleneck. And if you create a bottleneck, then it will stop your recording. Like it would just be like, oh, can't fit too much. It's like a car crash, and then boom, like it stops recording, and then you're dealing with a bigger issue if you're not recording. Oh, Doc Rock is in the house. Says, bro, got a new way to kind of build up a Synology. It's way cheaper and fast enough to handle your business. Let me grab a link. Oh, absolutely. And I was going to talk to you about it as well, Doc. I don't know if you were here when I was mentioning about my podcast. Because what I'm planning for January is doing one of two things. It's either advertise for like 4 weeks and then drop all 6 episodes like at the end of the month, right? And then continue to like drop as many like promotion that I can after the fact. Or should I drop all 6 episodes so that that's already there, and while that's already there, spend still the same month, advertising it, promoting it, but already having something to like feed on if somebody finds one of the links. You know what? I think I kind of just convinced myself to do the latter. I think I'm just gonna post all the episodes the first week of January and throw some promotional content out there, and then continue to trickle out so that if somebody finds and comes across it, they already have the content to go. Those could just be views that I'll be throwing away. So see, I came to that conclusion. Hopefully that helps you guys out, but hit me up about the Synology link. Spazia in the house. Alberto saying, hello, Luis. How are you? Doing great. I'm doing good, and I'm on my way to great. So that's, you understand? No complaints. We're doing good, but on our way to great. Okay, thank you for the link, Doc. Okay, that is Jim Mundy as well. Saying, yep, Jim Mundy. All right. Well, congratulations. I got to definitely subscribe to your channel to check it out. One second. Let's clear that up. Doc Rock says, a game console is generally considered vintage or retro when it's at least 15 years old. Wow. 15? That's it? So that means the Xbox 360 is retro? Nah, like I don't think so. 15 years? That means anything past 2010 or anything made prior to that. Like I still think there might be a little leniency. I would say 20, maybe 25 years. Anything made prior to like 1999, like, and I think that would fall into the same place, right? What was like 1996, 97? That's when we got like Nintendo 64. We got the PlayStation, I think, in 96, right? Sega Saturn. Those were the game consoles of that day. But now, like shortly after, like I think it was 2002, 2003 that we were already in. Was it? Now that I'm talking about that was 97. And then 2001, right? Just right around there, around 25 years. I think that's when it was. You know what? I'm going to have to Google this. I think that's when the PlayStation 2 came out. And I remember because in my particular situation, like they were sold out everywhere. Like they were sold out everywhere. Could not be found anywhere, and I really wanted the PS2. It was such a dramatic leap from the PlayStation 1, from like box figures running down the field because I used to play Madden, to seeing like characters with full like equipment that they were blinking, and when they were about to catch the ball, like their hands would actually like open up and extend to catch the ball, and you would see it like land in their hands. You had full customization. It was such a huge leap, and if I remember correctly, that was in 2001. So I just typed, I tried to not PS4, PS2. Oh, it was on 2000. So it wasn't 2001. So it was right around there, March 4, 2000. Okay. And that year, I remember like the holiday season, it was all sold out. And a couple of my friends, Avilio and Moses, worked at Kmart, and they worked in the electronics department. So I asked them, like, is there any like hookup? And there was none. But luckily, Moses was on shift when somebody returned a unopened box PlayStation 2. And as soon as they returned it, like the word spread like wildfire, and I got wind of it, and they were like, yo, we got one here, like in the box. Can you make it here today? And I was like, absolutely. And drove from my home, made my way over to that Walmart in Pembroke, not Walmart, Kmart in Pembroke Pines. And I remember picking it up. So funny, Kmart's defunct, and that building is now like a private school in Pembroke Pines, but is how things change. And I remember, man, PlayStation 2 was 2000. You might be right. So now I'm going to actually just do one more. I'm going to do Xbox. So the Xbox, but no, when was the 360? Xbox 360 release date 2005. Yeah, so I wasn't too far off. Man. Call that like, I have all of those sitting right on a shelf right up there. You know what? I'm going to show you guys. Let me see if I could angle this up right. I see how I'm going to do it. Right, let me see what kind of angle I got here. I got to check that out. Oh, yeah, I can't show that. We got to definitely bring up. There was something, nothing nefarious, but like definitely not TOS friendly when it comes to YouTube. But let me go to this, and we're going to publish. All right. So this is my top shelf. Let me just see if I can add my face on here. Boop. No, that changed it. It's not what I wanted. There we go. So I'll throw my face up here. All right, so this is a bit of it. Let me see if I could squeeze over to the side as well. Okay, so going from over here, we got two of the PlayStation 3 consoles, the original. Then right underneath here, we have two of the original Xboxes. Now, one of those Xboxes I have completely, and I mean completely tweaked out and modded out. It's got like a 250 gig or maybe even a 500 gigabyte hard drive. And it's got like all the Xbox games downloaded to the actual hard drive. So it's kind of an all-in-one Xbox, totally like hacked out, even like the LEDs and everything. Like I'm just a like nerdy type of guy, so did all the hack work on that. As you can see, I also have two Xbox 360, actually three there. The third one was a gift, but the two original ones, the black and white, right, that look the same. The white is held normal, the black one was modded just the same way. It plays backup titles, so all of the games that I have the ability to record them onto a DVD and play those backups, even though I play the original, so that really doesn't get touched. And then somebody gifted me the Xbox 360 arcade edition, because that's the one that didn't have a hard drive and things like that. Very basic stuff. Then we continue. I have my two Nintendo's Wii's. Also, those are hacked. You understand? Like, and when I say hacked, I mean that they've been modified as far as the operating system. So it's just giving me the ability to expand upon the hardware that I already have there. Now, the GameCubes underneath, never really modded those, but I did get use out of them. And then furthest to the right, next to one of Aiden's books, is my PlayStation 2. And that's the same one that I had mentioned to you, because that is the same original one that I picked up from Kmart back in the day, 25 years ago. Man, 25 freaking years. Man, that is nuts to me. Oh my God. Look, I'm over here talking to you guys, but my face wasn't on here the whole time. My bad. So yeah, so that's exactly like, that's just my shelf up there. And then you know what? I'm gonna take you to the trip to the other half. This is the other half of it. This is what I have on my shelf up there. All my titles. I have quite a few. So I have the PlayStation 4 and which one? The Xbox 360 in the front, but then behind is where I have the Wii's, the Xbox 360s, all those. Oh, and then up there, yeah, my green console, because that was in 1996 as well. All right, let's go back to my main shop. 1996. Oh, let's remove this. All right, wait. That's how it works. All right. So, 1996, the Nintendo 64 came out, and that was the first time that I ever bought myself a Christmas present. That was my first ever Christmas present to myself, and that's when you realize that you became an adult. I was like, yep, like if you really want something, you're just gonna need to go out and get it as a man and not wait for anyone to like hook you up. All right, so we're gonna continue. Kayla says, when I have my vintage Wii, PlayStation, Game Boy, and oh my God, like let's not even get into because I'm gonna go back to the shot. Let's see. Those are my PSPs. So the one in the back is the original, the PSP Slim. Oh, I'm sorry, the original Slim is in the front. Then the PS Vita, the original, is in the back, the Fat Boy, and then the PS Vita Slim. I'm also in the process of looking for. My friend said he had one, and I was like, you know what? I might just need to just pick that up for like the collector set, which is that he has the original I'm getting them all mixed up. The PSP, the PlayStation Pocket, right? Not the Vita, but the original Fat Boy. And that's the only one that I actually sold off. And I was like, man, I still wish that I had the original one just to kind of have it. You know, there was a such a good weight to that system. Oh, Doc headed out. He said he got a video to record before sundown. Sly says, I remember when I had to blow into them and make them work so long ago. Yeah, that's where those were these. These are the ones that got the pan flute. Doc also says, watch Mary Lou's camp workshop replay. Done video in seconds. Gotta watch it. Because it's just not... I gotta get out of my head and I need to just make videos. And, you know, my worst video is better than the majority of people's. And it's just because I'm trying to not be a perfectionist, but at the same time, it's still innately in me. There's certain things that are just not gonna do just because I'm not gonna do them, even if they're inherently like just native to me. Nintendo pre-Switch. Actually, that's true because the Switch is the only Nintendo console that I don't have. And I'm going to pick one up probably like at a pawn shop, super cheap, right? And then start messing around with some of those games, but I've never really had the need to. See, Atari would be vintage. Like, believe it or not, that's why I really like that emulator, because it even has Atari. Like, and when my mom was around, I gave her like an Atari emulator, but I don't think she used it much. But the funny thing is that my mom, she used to love this game called Sequest. And it was just like it was just a basic game where you were a little submarine where you would shoot and you would get like sharks and swimmers. You understand? And then you would get a swimmer, right? And a shark would start like nipping at his feet, and then they'll start swimming faster, and you have to like kill the shark but then not kill the person, right? And then save them so that they can continue swimming. It's just such a simple like 2D animation game, and that was my mother's favorite. R.I.P. moms. Or my old TI Commodore Commander. That says Commander, right? Is that a calculator? Correct me if I'm wrong. Because that's the TI. That's Texas Instruments. So, wow. I remember I had one of those, like, big, oversized calculators. It wasn't, like, it was handed down to me. It was my sister's. So, I remember I ended up with it, and I would use it, and it was just, like, super cool. But I never learned how to use it, if that makes sense, you know? Did you ever have the swag Game Gear? Oh my goodness, you bringing out the old school. Played about 1 million hours of Sonic the Hedgehog on that thing. No, that was one of the things that I always wanted to get, but even more than the Game Gear, right? Because I never went into handhelds with Sega, right? And I was a Sega guy as well. Like, I had the Sega Genesis. My cousins had the Master System, which was the previous version of it. But when Sega became popular and it was the Sega Genesis, I ended up getting that console. Then I started getting like the smaller version, right? Because they were always into like put it out and then make a smaller version, right? A compact. But that one was the one that I hooked it up like with everything. So that one I got all the accessories. And you think about the money that's spent on that stuff like back in the days, like my goodness. But I had the Sega Genesis connected with the Sega CD game, right? So it expanded the console from something thin to like something twice the size. So it had a CD player on it. But that was also kind of like one of my first CD players that I would actually play music on. So that's, you know, that did go there. And so it had the Sega CD, but then it also had another edition on it called the Sega 32X, right? Which converted the game console from 16-bit to 32-bit gaming. And even if it did, they really didn't maximize on it, but it gave the console an ability to be more 3D-ish, so to speak, or to handle that, you know, like the computation that was necessary for it. And one of my favorite games was Virtua Fighter 32X. And that one, man, I played hella hours on that one. It was just a really cool game because it was a fighting combat game made with 3D, like polygons. I think that's how you call them, right? So like, they had, they're still pretty boxy, but they were in 3D space, and it was a fighting game that didn't have any special moves. So there was no like fireball, spinning, hurricane kicks, and all that stuff. And I'm not taking nothing away from Street Fighter. Like, I'm a Street Fighter guy over Mortal Kombat. FYI, give me a thumbs up if you agree, right? So, like, not that I disliked that, but I did like the aspect that was all skill based in that Virtual Fighter 32X, because there was nothing, if you did things right, you would get the outcome that you wanted, instead of just having, you do everything great and somebody hits you with a fireball and then you end up losing anyways. Oh, I got you though. It says Sega autocorrect is killing me tonight. Dreamcast. Oh, that's what you were trying to say before? But yeah, Dreamcast was also a great system. Sega, for those of you who don't know, Sega themselves shot themselves in the foot, because what I had mentioned before about hacking these game consoles, right, is the fact that it allows you to play backup games. Meaning, I can take my original game, and instead of scratching that CD up, which was like big issues back in the day, right, I can make a copy of that game directly either onto the console, or make a DVD, or those were CDs back in the day, CD copies of these Dreamcast games, right? And then put them into the consoles and play the copied version, so that if that one gets all the scratches, that one breaks, that does everything, it doesn't matter. You could always just go back to your computer, print out, like I said print out because I'm doing 3D printing, but burn, which is a term that I haven't used in such a long time, burn a CD with the data on it again, and then put it right back into your system. Well, all of that was because these consoles have like the region locks onto their devices, and you would have to unlock the console to give it access to play the information on a non-native disc. And Dreamcast shot themselves in the foot because they never applied that to it. So Sega's Dreamcast, straight out of the box, no modifications needed whatsoever, would play region-free backup games. And with the internet coming to fruition around that same time, it was death for that console, and almost for the company Sega, because of the simple fact that like nobody was buying the games if you could literally just go to your friend's house, get a copy of his, and take it to yours and play it just the same way. And that's what, unfortunately, some people do. Just like, allegedly these people take movies and bootleg them. Allegedly. Yes, it says the Taxi game, Crazy Taxi, just to give it the exact name, the Crazy Taxi game that was on the Sega titles I played. I didn't have the Dreamcast, but some friends did. Exactly, the OG Crazy Taxi game. Those are such good games, and those were good games even at the arcade. So I don't know if you guys were lucky enough to experience that, but in my youth here in South Florida, a couple of things. One of them was a Six Flags theme park called Six Flags Atlantis right here in Hollywood, Florida, that basically didn't do too well because of the beaches in Hollywood, Florida. The beaches in Hollywood, Florida are probably some of the best beaches in the state. They're close enough to Miami, but not as congested as Miami or Fort Lauderdale. It sits in the middle, and believe it or not, a lot of the movies that you see that they say Miami Beach is actually shot in Hollywood Beach, because it's also a lot easier to get permits and things like that, and you're getting the same exact aesthetics. But I digress. I believe the movie All About the Benjamins, Ice Cube with Eva Mendes and Mike Epps was all shot in Hollywood, like Hollywood and some Fort Lauderdale. And the Fort Lauderdale aspect was still like kind of, it was Davie because it was one of these the boat places, and that's all in the marinas over here just off of Davie before you actually get to Fort Lauderdale. But that's just me going off a tangent. But I could tell you so many things have changed in South Florida. Man, I would say getting close to 45 years of me, this being my stomping ground. And man, my God, I'm about to be 45 years old. Well, 44, but still, I digress. Enough years, over 40 years here, and it's just like how things have changed. Say we were PlayStation house from the OG till current. Absolutely, man. Like I remember the first game that I played was a basketball game on the PlayStation console. And this is the crazy thing. It was a friend of ours that we had down the street in our neighborhood that he had a PlayStation. And even though he had a PlayStation, with the console was great, the one flaw of the PlayStation when it first came out in 96 was that there weren't a lot of games for it. There weren't a lot of titles. So like past the holiday season, like, a couple months after that he got the console, we traded for like a month. And I gave him like one of my old consoles, and I think it was like the Super Nintendo, like with a bunch of games. You understand? Like the Super Nintendo with a bunch of games. And then I was using his PlayStation with like 2 games, and it was like a basketball game. And I don't even remember the other one because all I did was play the basketball game. It was kind of like that PlayStation moment for the PS2 when I could see people blink. This is the first time where we were seeing basketball players like physically dribble the ball in a video game and then like have like an arc on their shot, and that their wrist would break, like when they would flick the ball to shoot it. That was like next level stuff, man. And just taking you from all the baby steps from Pong, 2D like ball running across to, man, it's crazy. That's why we're considered millennials. And I didn't even know I was a millennial, guys. Like I learned this recently that the millennials start in 1981, the year that I was born. I was like, that's what makes sense. But I have so much of like Gen X. You understand? Because I'm literally like on that line. I'm almost like right on that line of like both. So I really feel fortunate to lived in this era, right? Because like I said, I get to speak to my children or my grandchildren and kids in the future about like rotary phones. And seeing the transition to the fact like any kid born today is never gonna experience life without AI. Think about that. Like anyone that's sitting here right now in the chat, and if you haven't done so already, please give the thumbs up. We're running a bit over the time, but listen, guys, we all experience life before AI. Hold on to that, guys. Because this is gonna be the stories that we're gonna tell, like on and on and on. And like, oh yeah, I remember like before, like, like people on the internet worried about getting doxxed, right? Like, oh, I don't want to get doxxed. I don't want my info out there, right? Like people have my phone number and my address and stuff like that. Yet, like back in the day, any public phone booth, public phone had the entire phone catalog underneath, and everybody's name was listed with their phone number. How things have changed, right? How the turns have tabled. Says Albert's over here saying, you gave me inspiration to turn on my old 360 and PlayStation 3. Man, I'm telling you, like these game consoles, man, like the amount of hours, and I bring it back, the amount of hours that I've spent playing this one particular title, Final Fantasy VII, on a plethora of different consoles, from my PSPs to my my actual PlayStation. You know what? One more for the one more, okay? One time for the one time, okay? So I'm going to take you to show you exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm going to go back to this shot. Let me see this. Boom. Right. So we're back here, right? Where I was showing you my PSP and my PS Vita. But now from where you see, like, this is my side, right? Look what I got right here. So this is my key light. So you guys can see, this is my console. This is the behind the scenes, right? So from what I see right here, I have my PSP Vita in silver because that's my second one. Then I have my original PlayStation, and that one as well is modded. PS2, that's my second one. That's my Slim. I got my PS3 Slim and my PS4, and all of these work except the PS4. The PS4, that one is dead, so I just have it there as a figure, right, to match up the aesthetic, because I actually have the PS4 right over here. Ooh. 3D printed hooks for my controllers, 3D printed base. This is my 3D printed station. Oh, and another thing that I'll talk to you guys later on. Kevin, if you're still here. Oh, you know what? All right, let's go back over here. Hopefully I didn't give you guys too much motion sickness. Oh. But this is something that I picked up and is fairly inexpensive. It's a 3D pen. So it does the same exact thing as the 3D printer. It prints out the filament, right? But you can do it by hand. And what it's allowed me to do is actually fix some of the things that, like, I wanted to fix. So mostly it's been reinforcement in certain prints, or if something's missing and you just kind of want to fill in a gap, bam. This little thing heats up. It's connected via USB. As you can see, I already 3D printed a little spool holder so that it holds the filament right there and pulls it as it's necessary. I also printed a holder for it, but this was like on sale on Amazon. I think I spent $25 or $30 on it, right? And once I tested it out, it worked flawlessly. I did put this little extension for the PFT, but as you can see, I've already like modded this out. But in addition to my 3D printer, this is probably like the best accessory to add on to it for another reason, which is when you get to the end of your spools and you just have like a little bit of filament that you really don't know what you're going to do with and you don't want to throw away, this gives you a lot of options. And what I did with a little bit of white filament was the light that I have there, I built a bracket for it, but the bracket was very, very flimsy. It just was. It was like, it was printed thin, right? Because that was the design. But what I didn't realize that would happen is that whenever the printer would move, this little bar that you can see right there, which is lighting everything up, would kind of like jiggle. You understand? And whenever the printer would move, the light was constant, and I mean constantly vibrating because it was still jiggling of its last movement and last motion. So I took that off. And I took the gap on the inside and I just filled it up with the 3D printer filament off of the pen and gave it that reinforcement that it was missing. And now it stays nice and tight because I gave it like a 100% infill on that print, right? And I did it after the fact because of this little 3D printer. Right. So Kathy also says TI-99 computer. Okay, so it could be a computer. I got to check that out. That's another thing that I'm going to Google. But Game Gear was right. Dreamcast was another one right after the Genesis. But you know what? We were talking about that. And just to finish off, the one that I always wanted to get, because I never got the Game Gear, but the one that I wanted to get from Sega even more than that was called the Sega Nomad. And the Nomad was basically a slightly bigger version of the Game Gear, but it wouldn't use Game Gear titles. It would take the full Genesis cartridges. So it was literally like playing Vector Man, because that was one of the titles that I absolutely love. And I don't doubt that that's probably sitting in a drawer somewhere as well. Like some of my N64 and my Super Nintendo cartridges just rolling around there, like packed away. But Vector Man was one of those like Genesis only titles that was just awesome. And yeah, absolutely love that. But I wanted to get the Nomad so bad that's something that, if I randomly probably see it in a pawn shop, I'll probably pick it up. Just to, almost just like the PlayStation. Like, even if it doesn't work, just for the aesthetic of that, like, time and history and technology, absolutely can't get enough of it. Nerding out. Raph is in the house. Happy almost New Year. Likewise, happy New Year weekend for everyone. Kevin says Blockbuster or video store would rent and burn after one rental. That's actually true. That's actually very true. Some sort of MLB baseball game, Andretti Racing, and the first two games that were quickly Crash Bandicoot. Oh my God. Crash Bandicoot, man. And you know what? I had mentioned it here before because one of the cool things that that was cool about the PlayStation was, they didn't have a lot of titles, but shortly after, PlayStation Magazine came out and they had those like demo discs. And another thing was Pizza Hut was running a campaign at that time as well, that if you would buy like a large pizza, it would have like the demo disc like already like as part of the box. And that's when I got my first taste of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. And I've mentioned it here before, guys, I never owned that game. I only owned the one level on the demo. And if you could burn out a CD, I would have burnt out that CD because of how much I played that. And Crash Bandicoot, just classics. Kathy says, I got a PlayStation to play an X-Files game I had back in the... Oh my God. Kathy, you're opening up a Pandora's box with me, okay? You just definitely gained some brownie points, right? Big, huge X-Files fan. Like, just a nerd, guys. I got into X-Files. There was another TV series that I really enjoyed a lot called Fringe. Because it's speaking of like fringe topics in science and the way that they like, built storylines around it, absolutely was hooked on that series. But X-Files, not only the game, which I had and played because I was such a nerd, but definitely like I owned it might still be around there in one of my DVD magazines that I own, like the first 4 seasons of X-Files on DVD. Like, yeah, I was working my way up to getting all the seasons, like over there in the top, I have like movies 1 through 6, including Tokyo Drift of the Fast and the Furious franchise. Now, I grew up with this stuff, but then after that, and that was only because my friends, like, he had them, and he's like, yo, I'm going to sell my DVDs. Like, you want this set? And I was like, I'll hook you up. I'll take that off your hands, right? But the reason why I say is because past 6 and whatever, like, they're at like number 10 or whatever, I haven't seen any of those movies. It's just, they just went off the deep end with me, like way too much stuff. Doc says, I called geriatric millennial. I would take that. I am a geriatric millennial. Oh my God, that's so funny. I lost the whole semester of college to Mrs. Pac-Man addiction. That's so funny. Life before smartphones, bro. You telling me, man. Like, I tell everyone, I'm like, I'm so glad that like my entire youth was not documented on the internet. Like, some of these kids are doing some stupid ass ish out here, and like, it's recorded. It goes viral on YouTube or online, so to speak, and then the next thing you know, you're like, yeah, you will never be president. Like, you're cutting yourself off, like you cut your legs out from under you. Like, so many opportunities that you like, just so glad. And not that I said that I would be, but
Goodness gracious! I'm so happy that my youth was not documented like it is today. It says, in my day, the killer console with Donkey Kong was ColecoVision. I loved ColecoVision, Carlos, but I hated the controllers. The worst controllers ever. And that's why Atari, well, that and the price guy. I believe ColecoVision was like a more pricier console back in the day. They had a lot of the same titles, and I believe they played the same games. So, like the Atari games, you could play on Coleco and vice versa, if I remember correctly. But the same day, that controller with the full number pad was just so overkill. That whole freaking number pad. The number pad was just so overkill. And both buttons on the sides doing the same exact thing with the oversized joystick. And then here comes Atari with a smaller version, and they give you a controller, which is just one joystick, right? Where you would hold like this, and then your left was the button. So one stick, one button, and that was the first controller, and that rocked ColecoVision. Ralph says, I'm an ex-zennial, 77 to 82. So I think that's where I fall in. You understand? 1981, ex-zennial. There's another one, played 1.5 million hours on OG PlayStation. Wow. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, only the first version. Not only the first version, I only had the first level. Because that was the cool thing about the demo disc. Like, they wouldn't stop you after like 2 minutes. Like, they gave you full access to the game. Like, you can do everything. They didn't give you all of the characters, but they gave you the entire level. So then when I would go to my friend's house, right, and play the game on their consoles that had everything unlocked, I would just do really well because I was practicing only on that one level, but I played the hell out of it. Kathy says she had X-Files on VHS and DVD. Absolutely, man. Like, I got them on DVD, right? Man, VHS? You see, if I would have had X-Files on VHS, it would have been something that I recorded myself. You understand? Like, set the time up and then record that, because those are things that we did back in the day. My God. Kevin, going back to it, there's so many one word or one phrases that will catch people, like life before smartphones, life before TiVo, right? Because I remember TiVo was the first thing, which was the first digital video recorder, which allowed you to record, like cable programming to your house, even when you weren't there. Not like a VCR. You understand? It was the first VOD, right? Video on demand type of system that you can get. Man, I remember when they used to sell those on Best Buy. So before AI, before smartphones, before, oh my God. Yeah. It's incredible how much technology has changed just in my lifetime. And I think that's where we're going to leave it. Guys, I love tech and I love hanging out here with you all the time, nerding out. But before we go, we ain't going to forget about this thing right here, Cities Ga, channels that I think you should go and watch. And where's my mouse again? Let me see. This is not what this is who it is. All right, so let's go to it. Boop, boop, boop. There we go. And this week's Cities Ga is this guy named Nick Salazar. Oh, I don't think that's what I was expecting it to do. Okay. I don't even know if the audio came through there. Hopefully it didn't. But this week's Cities Ga is Nick Salazar. Now, he's a new film content creator, right? He's a camera junkie. But as you can see, he's working on his first feature film. And that's what it says here. It says The Game of Life, which is what he's working on. And while he's working on it, he's already got like 61 videos up on his channel, and he's just another perspective on learning more aspects of film and cinematography. Like he's got like a laid back, easygoing approach. As you can see, always tends to be the same type of people, but this is someone that has landed on my radar as of late and has been one of my most recent subscriptions. personally. So if you haven't heard of this man and you want to go ahead and check it out, I wish I'd tell you that I had more information about him, but like I said, I'm also new to him. As you can see, his channel is starting out. We're right around the same thing. He's just passed 2,000 subscribers, the 2K mark. And this is this week's Cities Gaw channels that I think you should go and watch. And this week is Nick Salazar. So if you haven't heard of him, give him a shout. And, you know, if you're watching this, he'll probably end up on your feed sooner or later. And that is it, everyone. We have done it. We have completed episode 213 of the Camera Junkie live stream. And if you're wondering what that is, and you know you're new to this, then just let me explain. This is 213 consecutive, and I mean consecutive episodes of the Camera Junkie live stream without skipping a beat. So that's been over 2 years. Listen, over 200 episodes, over 4 years of every Saturday Camera Junkie live stream. So if you haven't done so already, mark it down on your calendar, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Camera Junkie live stream is going to happen without a hitch. And I can't wait to see all of your beautiful smiling faces in 2025. Let's go. Yeah. Woohoo. Guys, thank you for making this my favorite place to be week in and week out. So as always, take care of yourselves and each other. Happy New Year. Enjoy your festivities, right? We'll be seeing Sly Tuesday if you're hanging out with us. And until next week, take care of yourselves and each other. And I will see you next week. Talk to you.